Ghost Story is about a recently deceased man who returns in the form of a white-sheeted ghost to the suburban home he shared with his wife to try to reconnect with her, only to find that in his spectral state he has become unbound by time, forced to watch passively as the life he knew and the woman he loves slowly slip away and move on, despite having to remain completely passive, ineffectual, and bound to the singular space that is the house. He apparently has the unlimited capability to move through time, so he embarks on a cosmic journey through memory and history, confronting life's big unanswered questions and the enormity of existence. I feel like any sort of plot synopsis for this film does it a huge disservice, because any sort of idea or expectation you might form in your head about this film before watching it is probably going to be unmet. The story in the title, A Ghost Story, is pretty misleading. This is not a story, folks. This is a meditation. This is a meditation on love, on grief, on loss, on legacy, on boundlessness and immeasurability, on the limitations of the human experience, and on our longing for meaning, for connection, and for closure. What a lot of reviewers are very quick to declare in the very beginning of their reviews is that this film is not for everyone, and I completely agree. I wasn't even sure it was for me during at least the first third, possibly even the first half of the film, because despite being beautifully shot and exceptionally scored, that first chunk of the movie is painfully slow, and the pacing just feels incredibly off, especially during two scenes that are incredibly important, but nonetheless really feel like an endurance test, really feel like they are demanding your patience. There was a 3-minute long uninterrupted shot of our two characters, the couple, just kissing and cuddling in bed. There's a 3-minute long uninterrupted shot of Casey Affleck's character's body in the morgue after he dies. There is an 8-minute long scene comprised out of 2 long uninterrupted shots of Rooney Mara just sitting down in her kitchen after her husband has died and just being in grief and just devouring a whole pie unto the point of throwing up, of becoming sick. And you know what? I get it. These scenes and these shots don't need to be this long. I mean, it was like the equivalent of watching grass grow in movie form. The film, however, eventually does speed up as more and more time passes by, and by time I mean time eventually turns into years, that turn into decades, that turn into centuries. This ghost not only moves forward in time, he also moves back in time, but definitely the most painful and most poignant part of the entire film is when he has to witness his wife eventually overcoming her grief and moving on to the point of actually starting to get romantically involved with a new man. And that's when it hit me. That's when the awesomeness of this film hit me, is that we are seeing everything exclusively through the very unique point of view of this ghost, who is just completely helpless and powerless and is unable to influence anything, yet he has this power to move in time and to be a witness. He is simultaneously furious and curious. He is simultaneously patient and longing. The film evokes a very keen sense of sadness and regret, mixed with a very deadpan sense of playfulness every now and then, especially when the idea is introduced that ghosts can see and communicate with other ghosts. Humans cannot sense them in any way, but Casey Affleck starts communicating with a ghost who is similarly trapped in the house next door, who says to him that he is waiting for someone, and Casey Affleck asks, "Who are you waiting for?" and the ghost replies, "I don't remember anymore." And there's this very contrast to the whole thing, like forever being hopeful and forever clinging on to something that's just not there anymore. And the film both have this optimistic but also this very pessimistic side to it, and it really plays with the idea that, hey, what if the human spirit literally continued to exist after death, but it lacked omnipotence? Just the way our memory becomes this very disjointed mess as we gather more and more life experience and as we age during our life. What if that same state would continue to exist after our death, during this sort of limbo, this uncertain period of awaiting a resolution that might never come, an intermediate state of uncertainty? I thought the simple white sheet ghost was going to look absolutely ridiculous in a serious film like this. Not at all. It's perfect. It suits the context, it suits the very minimalist style of this film, and you really understand that, okay, what makes you human in the physical world, okay, that's stripped away completely, but what makes you human in spirit, what makes you human in a non-physical sense, the seat of emotions and character, basically your soul, yeah, that cannot have a physical representation besides this very simple white sheet with 2 eyes. That's it. The cinematography and the acting all coincide with this very minimalist approach. It was quite a bold move, I think, to put an action actor like Casey Affleck under a sheet all throughout most of the movie, basically, which was actually a little bit more difficult to deal with than expected. They actually had to do some puppeteering in order to keep the eyes in place, allegedly. I would have never expected that. And yeah, and you truly get the idea that this whole acting thing was just stripped away and reduced to just a mere specific and slow and rigid movements. It does truly feel very ethereal and very otherworldly. And you truly get the sense that these characters are not truly characters. They don't even have names. Casey Affleck is called C in the credits, and Rooney Mara is called M in the credits. They are not real characters, I think. I think they are more like blank canvases onto which we are completely left on our own to project our own individual interpretations and ideas and life experiences onto these characters. I loved the second half of this film. There's only one thing about it that kind of bugged me, and I would pretty much cut out completely, is a scene in which Casey Affleck is going through the house and he is observing things, and his wife has already moved on and moved out. There are new tenants and there is a party being thrown, and there's a guy at a table who is talking to a lot of other people, and he has this very long and very nihilistic monologue about humanity's doomed attempts at leaving any traces behind, especially through art. And he mentions Beethoven, and he mentions his Ninth Symphony, and he talks about who do artists truly write music for or write poetry for or whatever. And he says, oh, well, it doesn't matter anyway because the whole universe is going to die and anything we ever did ever is not going to matter and stuff like that. I guess it kind of has a small connection with Casey Affleck's character who happens to be a musician and a composer, and he wrote a song especially for his wife, a song to which she listens to after he is dead at a certain point. And I just thought that whole scene kind of went completely against everything else in the film because it was very dialogue heavy, it was very monologue heavy actually. The whole rest of the film is almost like a silent movie. There are very few lines of dialogue besides that scene. It was very direct, it was very specific, it was really something that was not left up to interpretation, and I really didn't care for it all that much. That's for example for a scene I would cut out from the film. So yeah, I eventually ended up liking this film very, very much actually, but don't be fooled by this film being about a ghost, because this is not a genre film in the slightest. It's not a horror film, it's not a thriller, this is an art film, and it's not a story, it's more of a meditation. And once you can get past that first third, that first half hour, which is kind of sluggish, I think it's definitely a rewarding experience, and it's definitely one of the most memorable films I have seen this year so far, for certain. So I would recommend it. I guess it's really not for everyone, like everyone keeps saying. It depends on each and every one of you to figure out if this is something you would enjoy and if it's something you want to invest that 90 minutes of your life into watching it. So my question to you guys would be, what is your favorite film that's sort of like, that's really not a story at all, but it's more of like a meditation, it's more of like an idea, and it's more of an experience? It's really hard for me to ask this question. I don't even know what exactly am I expecting from you to answer, but anyway, thanks for watching my review. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so I can see you guys later with other reviews. And as always, folks, don't forget to stay cool, stay awesome, and goodbye.